Hey everybody, welcome back to my garage. Hope you all had a great holiday season, great New Year's. It's been a while since I filmed anything. I've been busy turning, but just haven't been filming lately. So anyhow, I figured it was time to come back to this rough turn maple bowl that my buddy Juan had sent me from Canada, Area 51. I rough turned it the end of September, dried it out in a box of shavings for 2 months, and that pretty much stabilized. It lost over 400 grams in that time, 29% of its weight. There was a really dry spell in middle November where I had to add some CA glue. I had put wood glue at the areas where there were knots here, but then I had the smallest little cracks started. So I don't know if it'll show up. So I added CA glue just to put a stop to that. And anyhow, didn't put it away, got busy with other things for the holidays. Coming back to this, I don't know what it is, a month and a half later, and it's actually gained some weight. It's cold, damp, moist winter, so it's just moving with the local atmosphere here in Southern California. So it's up to 999 grams. It's lost 28% of its weight and moisture since the rough turning. Anyhow, since I'm not going to read everything out, but you can see how it's moved. The tenon's only moved a 1/16 of an inch in all this time, even though you could see the height's moved. It's grown, raised at the end grain, lowered on the sides. So there's a lot to true up, but because it's only 1/16 inch out of round, I'm going to mount this in the chuck instead of using a jam chuck, and then turn a recess right here in the middle, so I can mount that on the recess and get a nice outside of the bowl all trued up and just go from there. Anyhow, like I said, it's been a while since I filmed anything, so it'll be nice to get back to turning. Okay, I got it mounted up. I put a little line in here for a 3 7/8 inch recess. I'm probably going to go a little bit bigger, make it an even 4-inch recess. Anyhow, got it mounted up. It's not the most secure fit because it's warped right on this tenon that's moved. I don't know if we could show that little bit of a gap. So I wouldn't suggest turning the whole thing like this, but in terms of just quickly putting on a recess, that'll allow you to do the full turning to true it up. But anyhow, let's get going here. You can see it's really out of round. Pretty rough, not able to ride the bevel. I'm going to switch this to reverse now so I can use my burr and get a So that last part I did it turning it in reverse, so I could use this setup, and that gave me it's about 3/8 of an inch deep, a little bit of a dovetail. I'll clean up this bottom real quick, but that gives me the true recess there to get this flipped around and get the outside of the bowl trued up. All right, got my recess cleaned up a little bit. Had to take a slight amount off of the very edge here because I went a little deep. Got to keep it a 1/4 inch deep max. So let's get this thing flipped around. Let's see, here's the high point. Here we go. All right, I'll show you real quick. I don't know if it's the best view, but it's mounted on the recess. So now that we got this on, let's start chewing up the outside of this bowl. All right, here we go. Turn in about 650. Let's get this top part trued up. Oops. All right. Move over here so we get the light. So what I was doing was kind of shear scraping this edge right here, get it to run true, and then I did this first part. So this all is true, not skipping around. Lots more to do though to get this perfectly round again. This wood is nice, much harder. Couple lines, right? This is that weird area. It's got a bunch of little holes. This isn't tear out. Has to do with whatever knot that comes through here. Hopefully I can turn most of that away because I want to do kind of a larger base kind of stand. So I'm going to try to turn some of this away, but I'm sure that goes all the way through, so there'll have to be some CA glue in there. It's much harder wood now that it's dry, but it's still cutting like butter, nice and smooth. Just gotta get a couple more good passes here, refine the shape that I'm looking for. All right, I'm back. I did one pass off of camera, just took maybe another 1/16 of an inch off, and God, that's glass smooth, perfect. Yeah, it's really nice. There's this one fault in here with, it looks like tear out, but it's just kind of some holes along that knot. But man, that's going to be an important part. I'm sure you can see the light dancing right there. That's where all that kind of grain bends together, so it creates some chatoyance. Anyway, before I address this bottom part, I'm going to fix this recess, get this recess, or not recess, get this tenon all trued up, flatten this off, true it up, make it a little more. I think this is a 1/4 inch. I'm going to make it 3/8 of an inch, and then I'll blend them in together. You can see just how absolutely smooth and true it's running. Ooh, there's that knot. Let's see, my glue only went down so far. That knot does cause problems, but it also creates some beauty up here. Anyhow, I'm not too concerned about the middle, just the outside, because like I said, I'm going to leave this base, so I'm going to make a little design down here. It's more important about establishing the outside so I can blend it all in. Let's see if the base is done. So remember, whatever you take off on this side, it's coming off on the other side too, so you're doubling it. Yep, 3.5 inches. I don't want to go smaller than that. So, there we go. All right, I'm back. I got the tenon kind of established. It was a little bit sloppy, but and I have to clean up from here to here with another pass. So I'll come back to that. But I wanted to finish up on the tenon. Like I said, it was a little bit sloppy. The knot's going to give me a problem here. I'll need to glue that up after I put some sanding sealer on it later. Did a little chip out of here. But when at the very end, I'll put this on a jam chuck and I'll fix the outside of this tenon. But for now, it's just over 5/16 inch deep, 3 3/8 inch wide. So it's about as small as I can make it. But before I move on to finishing turning up this outside of the bowl, I'm gonna just establish where this is gonna sit. Turn this off. Let me get this back on. See if the carbide doesn't screw this up. I'll clean that outside up in a minute, but just wanted to check. Ooh, yeah, tight fit. I'll have to pry that out of there. But that's the idea. Once I get that out of there, I'll clean up a little bit around here. And like I said, at the very end, when it's on the jam chuck, I'll get rid of this little chip and fix the outside. But this is the general idea of the base of the bowl, which I'm going to use as a tenon for now. Anyhow, let's get this outside edge just cleaned up. Another pass, and that should complete the outside of the bowl for tonight. All right, I got the bottom how I want it. The medallion sits in there perfectly flush. And I put a little mark, obviously, so when I turn it around at the end to clean up this little chip in the bottom on a jam chuck, there's my center, right? So let's do one last pass and try to blend this in as close as I can get here. Bring it up. Support a grain cut. A little bit sloppy. I lost my edge right there, and you can see that one little line I have left to clean up. So, yeah, the jaws will sit in right there. And like I said, when it's at the very end, when it's on the jam chuck, that last part will be fixed. But for now, it gives a good tenon for my jaws to hold on to. Yeah. Other than me cleaning up that line, the outside is trued up. That recess did the job, so I'll fix this up off camera and probably come back tomorrow Oh yeah, I might sand and put a finish on the outside. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Might take care of the outside before I move on to the inside. All right, have a good night. All right, one last little thing for tonight. I decided I'm definitely gonna sand and finish the outside of the bowl tomorrow before I flip it around. But I have these little areas where not tear out, like I said, where this little ridge that caused these lines from this knot right here, a little bit of holes from this knot right here that I want to put CA glue in, but I don't want to stain it. So even though I'm going to sand and finish tomorrow, it's in really good condition, but I'm going to leave it tonight with some sanding sealer because I want to put the CA glue in tonight. So to kind of give you a sneak peek of some of these colors. You can see how beautiful that chatoyance is. I hope that comes in the light. It's just gorgeous. But yeah, and obviously I'll be doing sanding sealer again before I put the finish. I'll probably use Axe abrasive paste and wax to get a really nice finish on this thing. But yeah, before I put any glue on this, the last thing I would want to do is stain it, right? And you got this little, I don't know, wormhole right there and there, and this ambrosia maple, and just that little slightest bit of cracking around this knot right here that comes through to here. Just don't want that affecting, staining it. So I'm gonna, off camera, I'll fill those areas with CA glue, come back tomorrow, sand it, finish the outside. All right, that's enough talking. Have a good night. There we go. Beautiful. Take off my mask. Hopefully it shows up well. Turn off the fan. That beautiful light. Everything came out really nice. Sanded, started at 180. Could have probably started at 240, but I did 180, 240, 320, 400, 600. It's just flawless surface. There's that chatoyancy, just amazing. The stuff that knot caused. As you can see, the glue didn't stain. I just marked the center there because the coin's going to get glued in there. The two little wormholes or whatever they are filled. Those little cracks around the knot are filled. Haven't decided. I sanded this tenon. I may just end up leaving it. I'm going to wait and see how it looks after I turn the inside and make a decision. I mean, I sanded it down to the corner. It's beautiful, beautiful slope on this bowl. Just gotta I'll make a decision when it's done, whether I flip it around in the jam chuck and remove part of this tenon or not. But if it doesn't get marked up after sanding this like this, I may just leave it as is because it's a well-proportioned base. Anyhow, you've already seen me put a sanding sealer on it, but so I'm off camera. I'm gonna go put sanding sealer, buff it off with steel wool, and then come back and put a finish on the outside of this. Okay, the outside of the bowl's finished. Just wanted to show it off. This ambrosia maple is absolutely gorgeous. Completely trued up. Dry wood's obviously much more difficult to turn and get to look right, but it's so worth it because it's never going to move, it's never going to change. But this wood, this Ambrosia Maple that Juan sent me, is absolutely gorgeous wood. I'm just in love with this grain. You got that figure and the chatoyance all coming off of this knot. And then I don't know if this will show it, but yeah, even through the sapwood, the light dances. Just amazing. Comes around, the light's shining on it, but there's some figure coming through the heartwood there. There it goes, there it shows up on the camera. Just more chatoyance, and then you come around to this, and it's just like a burst of light that emits from that. Just absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous wood. Love it, love how it came out. Like I said, I'm gonna end up leaving this bottom unless it gets marked up. I've finished it, there's no reason to remove it. It's just gonna be part of my my overall bowl. That'll be the base. Obviously, I marked the center out, but in case I need to flip it around in a jam chuck, but I just finished the whole thing. Before I flip it around tomorrow, I'm gonna just slightly scrape this bottom part off with the carbide tool, so I'll be able to stick the medallion in there with 5-minute epoxy or CA glue or something. But I figure, why not just finish the whole thing? I'll scrape that off tomorrow before I flip it over. But yeah, there's the outside of the bowl. Back soon. Have a good night. Here it is, almost a week later. I'm finally back in my garage watching football. This is another reason why you use dry wood. Here it is, 6 days later, still running absolutely true. So I'm gonna get this flipped around now. I scraped out the middle so I can glue that medallion there. But I'm gonna get this turned around, started on the inside finally. Turning about 800 RPM. Inside needs to get trued up now. Didn't do the best job around the curve. Pretty thin. I got it 1/4 inch. I gotta clean up just right there as it bends down, and then obviously get the bottom. I've got some lines that I can't get out at the curve, at the transition from the flat to the curve. So I'm just gonna have to sand that because I've gone a little too thin than I want. Got a line where I'm gonna start, but it's super thin. Not bad. A few lines, but like I said, unfortunately, it went thinner than I was intending. I taped up this end so I wouldn't damage my finish on the outside. But yeah, just this little curve, because I went straight up and then the curve, it just gave me a little bit of a problem in that transition. So I doubt I'll do much scraping of that, but we'll have to sand that out. Anyway, let's get this bottom cleaned up so we can finish this. I decided to give my negative rake scraper a try here. I really don't suggest coming back to the ends, but because this is running so true, I'm going to do it very lightly. See if it helped. All right. I don't know if you could see it, but that actually worked. It's dangerous to come up here to the ends. I don't know if you can see it here on this white sapwood. Removed a lot of those lines, so now I got a great surface. Came down to just below 1/4 of an inch. I got it from here to here, just below 1/4 of an inch thick. That'll make sanding much, much easier. I don't know if you can see the transition right here as far as I took the scraper down, so you see a couple lines. But I'm gonna move to the bottom of this bowl. And now, because I got from here to here, good, I won't come back up. Let me make sure everything. Yeah, that's nice and flat. There's no reason to come back up here at all. Perfect surface, so just worry about down there from here on out. Got a little more depth to go. Not bad, there's that knot. And that rough surface. Shoot, that's gonna require some glue. It's the same thing as it was on the other side where it has some tear out just because of the whatever this is. Anyhow, I'm gonna switch over to the scraper. Let's see where we're at. Not bad. Got the same wormhole, same knot, same other knot. Let's tear out. Let's see where we're at. Void here. Got a little bit more depth I can do. So let me take a little bit more off camera down here at the bottom. Then I won't show you this because I've already done it before. I'm going to take this off the lathe, put sanding sealer in the inside of this, fill this knot, this little whatever, it's not tear out, but whatever it is in association with this knot, fill those little holes, fill those wormholes with CA glue so it won't stain. Then I'll get it back on here and bring it back. I was just scraping off all that excess CA glue. So hopefully it soaked into the knot in those holes. It seems like it did. A little bit of tear out right there, but that'll sand. Yeah, it filled in that stuff there too. All right, I'm gonna bring it back with sanding. Shows up. Usually I show it afterwards, after I'm done, after I hit 600 or so, but this is after 180. I started with 120 because it was a little rougher on the inside than the outside. I just finished 180 and turning it forward at 420 RPMs so I can hit the top as it comes around, right? But the reason I stopped here instead of at 600 is I wanted to show the lower grits are obviously what's more important. You got to get any tear out, any defects, any lines. You got to get out with your lower grits. Once you pass 180 and get up to the higher grits, you'll just end up having to go back. So it's even if you have to stop and turn it off and do a problem section and get it nice and clean how you want it before you move on, you're better off than going back and having to start all over, because once you get to the higher grits, if you haven't gotten every single scratch and defect out of that surface, you won't get it out. So that's why I stopped to show it after 180 this time, so you can see how, it's basically perfect. I just got to go through the grits and shine it up. Anyhow, bring it back when I'm done. All right, sand it up to 600. It's like glass. Got the Zinsser seal coat, shellac-based sanding sealer. Before I put any finish on it, this goes on the inside. And of course, off camera, I'll buff that out. Look at that chatoyance. I knock it back a bit, buff it out, whatever you want to call it, with steel wool, because it leaves a sticky kind of, I don't know how to describe the residue. It definitely needs to be taken care of afterwards. Look at that, just beautiful. The way the light dances in there. All right, let that dry, and like I said, I'll buff it out. Man, I know I've done a lot of talk about turning dry wood like this, and it has its beautiful, but one of the drawbacks is obviously it's more difficult. But another one, when you're turning it, man, sometimes the chips and the everything coming off against the gouge just burns against your hand. And usually I just bite my teeth, tough it out, but I'm gonna have to get a glove one of these days and protect my hand a little bit, because damn, that gets hot. Anyhow, we'll be back when it's time to put a finish on this bad boy. I'll put on the abrasive paste. Abrasive paste, and not the base, the wax now. Building up that friction. Gorgeous. All right, moment of truth. Final dimensions are 10 by 3 inches high on the outside. Oh my God, this is so light. Wow. And this is why I say the moment of truth. This is what I did for the tenant. I put some painter's tape around it. You know, if I had a bigger piece of lumber, well, if it was dry wood to begin with, I would have done a recess, not a tenon. But I didn't have much room vertically, or else I would have done this kind of a base and then a tenon on top of the base. But I tried to cheat. Let me find the end here. Tried to cheat. Usually, instead of turning off the tenon here at the end, I wanted to see if I could finish it, not mark it up when it's in those jaws, and be able to keep it. If it didn't work, I was just gonna the tape's all stuck to me. If it didn't work, I was just gonna turn it off, because obviously I got the center marked. I can mount it on a jam chuck and adjust this tenon and do some turning. But I think it worked. I'm looking for any kind of marks. I didn't give myself much room just to sit on the base. There might be one little dent right there. Barely see it. I think it worked because it was dry, and putting that little, just that little strip of tape. Yeah, I don't see any defects. We'll go with this. Nice thin bowl. It's a 1/16 under a 1/4 inch. So what is that? 3/16 inch thick throughout. Maybe obviously it's a little deeper down here, a little thicker down here at the bottom. But I couldn't measure there, so I didn't want to make a lampshade, so I was very careful not to go through. But you know, it's a nice piece of wood. Had some issues with these knots, these wormholes, or whatever these holes came from. It's never good to have that go right through your tenon, right through the bottom of the bowl, but made do the best I could, and you know, it's gorgeous. Hopefully this is all showing up on camera pretty well. It's a done deal. Let me get this medallion glued in here, and I'll bring it back with the finished bowl. Welcome back. It's the next day after work. I'm back with the finished Ambrosia Maple bowl. Came out absolutely gorgeous. This piece of maple that Juan sent me. Just love the difference between the sapwood and the heartwood and the colors. It truly is a beautiful piece of wood, the way the light dances through that. Anyhow, it's 10 by 3, like I said, very light. Final weight 194 grams, and that's with the medallion in there. As you can see, I kind of softened the curves. I followed it. It's very thin, but softened the curves on the inside of the bowl, whereas on the outside of the bowl, I kind of had a ramen type bowl in mind. Wanted it raised, so that was the reason behind that nice curve, and then the angle to the end. And there's the medallion. Came out absolutely beautiful, nice and flush there. Here's the card again. If you're interested in something like that, signature medallions, hit Gary Anderson up. There's his information. Very professional looking. I've been turning for just over a year now, so I think this will be the first bowl that I try to sell. But it's just very cool how everything turned out, and that little feature in the wood. Anyhow, couldn't be happier. Hope you all enjoyed this long project. See you next time. Take care.